Today I'll be sharing with you how I started as a freelancer, the doubts, the struggles, the progress and successes in between, and how my freelancing journey is right now. One reason that I'm sharing this with you is for you to see for yourself that I started somewhere and I didn't let my age define me back then. While it took time and a lot of sacrifices to get to where I am today, I want you to be the one to say to yourself at the end of this video that nothing is impossible for you too. In the previous video, I shared the top 8 questions I get asked as a freelancer. If you haven't seen that yet, the link is available in the description box below, and this is the video cover of that topic. 2020, I can say, was one of the saddest and maybe darkest times personally on the business side. Many businesses were forced to close and some even filed for bankruptcy. We were forced to stay at home for the right reasons, and many people lost their jobs, and I was one of them. I felt that I was untouchable with what was happening then because I was already a manager in one of the 5-star resorts in Cebu. But no, I was completely wrong. I was not pandemic proof and I didn't have that much savings, to be honest. Now, if I'm not mistaken, and please correct me if I'm wrong, most financial experts would recommend to have at least 3 to 6 months worth of savings. To compute that, you checked how much is your estimated or average monthly expense and multiply that to 3 or 6. That should be the equivalent to your emergency fund. But now, as I recall, I probably had about 15 to 18,000 pesos in terms of savings, or roughly about 250 to 300 US dollars around this time. Of course, it was natural for me to start to feel anxious, to panic about what the future holds for me and my family, because 2020 felt like forever. And I felt so uncertain about the future. During the pandemic, when almost all of us were forced to isolate, I had some time to reflect about my career and what I really want in life. So I had some thoughts like, what if this is going to continue in the months and years to come? What would that look like in terms of the hospitality industry? The hospitality industry would be one of the industries that would be badly affected and might not recover as fast as the other industries. With the time I had back then, this is when freelancing started to get my attention. I did a lot of research at first because I was very skeptical about this world. Research meant not just on Google, but also YouTube videos, joining different Facebook groups, reading and watching testimonies of freelancers who already found their success and really improved their quality of life. So then I thought and somewhat visualized to myself how amazing it would be that my dreams would start to come true. Working from home, I wouldn't have to rush in the morning and commute to work. I can work anywhere and anytime as long as the Wi-Fi is stable and reliable. My mind can relax, my nervous system will start to heal. I won't have to worry about bills, and my future and my family's would be secure. And while I was really deep in my thoughts, I realized, you know what? It is possible for me because it's really up to me. This time I get to decide that I want things to change and I want my situation to improve. I hated feeling stuck. I hated feeling like I lost control of where I'm supposed to go. One day I came across a certain YouTube ad video of Demi Bernice's about her freelancing course, and everything she said to the effect of getting out of the rat race just rang a lot of bells for me. I wasn't actively researching freelancing back then, but it's as if the universe was listening to my inner thoughts and inner desires. Again, I was skeptical about freelancing as this was something new to me. But finally, after weeks of research, or I should say months of convincing myself, so around September 2020, I decided to enroll in her freelancing course. Back then, it was about 8,000 to 10,000 pesos, or about 150 to 160 US dollars, if I'm not mistaken. It was such a big deal for me because at that time, that was almost half my savings. But you know, something inside me was so eager to get started, while the fear of failure and uncertainty uncertainty was piggyback riding with me at this time, I just went for it. Now, the photo that you'll see here is my welcome post to that Facebook group. And you know, when I signed up for the course, it meant there was no backing out. I knew I had to make this work. Now, the laptop that you see at the black table, I borrowed that from my brother. This was what my home office looked like when I started. You know, it was simple, but it meant everything to me because this is where my dreams slowly materialized. Okay, let's step back a bit. So this is what I call the honeymoon phase. Because just like when you're starting something new, it can be a relationship, it can be new goals, you feel that kind of excitement and maybe some nervousness and a little bit of anxiety. And those were the mixed feelings that I felt back then when I started. At first, I was leaning towards graphic design and website design, but it was too complex for me as a beginner. So then I found a Facebook group called the Virtual Assistant Savvies. After being in a black hole doing endless research, I decided to pivot and put my entire focus on how to be a virtual assistant instead of my initial plan about graphic design and website design. I started putting myself out there officially in October 2020 while I continued to complete the course, watch the videos, take notes, complete the exercises, create and develop my portfolio as well. I also started applying for job ops in Upwork, online jobs PH, and different Facebook groups. And I also applied for free internships and accepted free work in exchange for testimonials because I was just so eager to have a hands-on experience and have a feel of what it's like to be a VA. Then the reality starts to sink in, and this phase is what I call the reality phase of freelancing. Fast forward to January 2021, 3 months after I enrolled in the course in September 2020, my doubts and limiting beliefs were so loud and powerful that I started to believe that, you know what, maybe freelancing is not just for me. There was not a single job opportunity that I applied for between October to January 2021 where I passed. I mean, sure, I got to proceed to the interview phase and the final exam or final interview, for example, in some of the job ops, but it was either I didn't hear back from them or I was told that I wasn't a good fit or that they already found someone more fitting to who and what they're looking for. The first few rejections did not get to me yet, and my optimism was still high until it was back to back rejection. And you know, I can only take in so much rejection in my life. I clearly remember being so frustrated and disappointed and even discouraged that I was ready to give it all up. I started thinking, you know what, why bother? To be honest, my ego was hurt, really hurt, because my thought back then was that I was already a department head when I left the corporate world. And that's on my resume, that's on my CV. Yet no one sees my potential. So I was humbled because in the freelancing world, I realized that while your corporate background will be a good starting point, a good foundation, it won't necessarily get you the job. My expectation before was that after I enrolled with the course, I'll give myself a month or two and then I'll be hired. But no, I was completely wrong, as that wasn't the case for me. I had to wait for almost 6 to 7 months for me to get my first freelancing client. But the good thing was that when I left the corporate world or the resort that I was working back then, I was able to secure a job that kept me and my family afloat. Most of the other freelancers that I know were hired even more than a year. I'm not trying to scare you, but I want you to know that this is the reality of freelancing. If you watched the previous video, I ended that video by saying what got you here won't get you there. That means now that you are starting your freelancing career, the skills that you have, the mindset, your belief system, some, if not most, need to be unlearned so you can have space to learn new things that will help take you to get to where you want to be in life through freelancing. This way you can manage your expectations and not be like me, where I was so naive back then. Now I want to share with you the epiphany moments, the 2 emails that I received before March 2021 ended. So click on pause on the app on which you are watching this video now. imagine how I felt back then. My heart felt full, like it was about to burst, because that moment validated everything that I went through, all the excitement and then the lows and then the highs again. This is why I saved moments like these, because this keeps me grounded. When I look back on how I started, how extremely difficult it was. It only took 2 yeses out of the 100 no's for me to keep my dream alive. Now to recap, March 2021. So I was literally on the verge of giving up, and then I received those 2 emails where I was signed by my first freelancing client and my first work from home setup, because I had to report specific hours. So I consider that a work from home job. So what does this tell you? Number 1, it won't rain forever. Number 2, when the time is right, everything will be worth it, and you will understand why you have to go through what you went through. So imagine if I didn't go through all those challenges and easily pave my way into freelancing. I would have been so complacent, or I would have been a person who was taking advantage of all the opportunities related to freelancing. This made me realize that truly anything worth having is worth waiting for and worth sacrificing for. It also made me think that I was being prepared for what I prayed for. Now it was such an ideal setup, because the online work helped me continue to pay the bills and helped my family survive through the pandemic, while the freelancing work let me explore and learn the freelancing business further. So I thought back then that I am starting to live my dream. This is it. This is where I slowly invested and improved my home office so I can continue to accept and help more clients. So this phase is what I call the progress phase. I remember the first time I was booked out, that was in September 2021, nearly 6 months when I first signed my freelancing client. I really cried. It was a different kind of emotion compared to the first time that I signed a client, because booked out for me meant that I no longer had the physical and mental capacity to take on new clients. So that means that I also started to reach the monthly income goal that I had set for myself. Now, this is what I posted back then in the Virtual Assistant Savvy's Facebook group, because I really learned a lot from this group. It was a pinch me moment, because I did not expect at all that I will be booked out that fast. Now, before you smile and be very happy, I'm going to share with you that when I was booked out, I was working about 10 to 18 hours a day, because my online work required me to be around 8 to 12 hours a day, 6 times a week. And then I'm also managing my freelancing business for like 4 to 6 hours a day. Now, I'm sharing that because that was part of my journey, and yours doesn't have to also look the same as mine. I'm not here to glorify working 12 to 18 hours a day where you work tirelessly and eventually get sick, because that's not the point here. I want you to use it as a learning opportunity to decide what will be sustainable for you in the long run, because to me back then, I was just really very hungry to prove myself that I can do this, because to me, failure was not an option. Now, while I felt successful in the months that I was booked out, I was also constantly getting sick, because not only did I lack sleep, my lifestyle wasn't healthy at all. My only but at that time was that I had a strong drive not to fail, because I did not have a backup plan. I am the backup plan. So this made me think really hard about what my priority should be in life. I initially treated my freelancing business as part-time until I decided to make it a full-time business. This was when it really hit me that it's really possible, and I never thought that this type of success can also happen to me. And now that you're watching me at the other end of the screen, I am rooting for you. I am rooting for your success, because that's one of the main reasons why I created this video, not just to share my journey, but for you to realize and understand that you are the only one who's going to take your life from point A to point B, or to where you want to go. Now, from borrowing my brother's laptop, my setup evolved to 2 Asus monitors. Please correct me if I did not pronounce that right. Then when I can finally afford a full desktop setup, I went for it because it really improved my productivity. I'm a multitasker, so if I'm still waiting for one web page, I'd rather work on something else. Now, it's hard to sum up my experience in one video, so that's why, as much as possible, I made sure that it's not so heavy to process, and I want to share as much as I can, so it will give you the motivation, the discipline perhaps, and the hope to really get started. Even if it's just baby steps, like you don't have to buy a new laptop, work with what you have right now, because when I started, I just borrowed my brother's laptop. I didn't have full setup. I didn't have a new phone. Earlier, I shared how I started, right? And I call it the honeymoon phase. This is where your energy and your excitement is really high, so savor that feeling. And always remember what it felt like when you started, because you will need that. Then I faced the reality of freelancing, aka the reality phase, when my doubts were stronger than my confidence in myself, when my negative self-talk was getting louder and louder each day, and when I started to be overly critical of myself, when it was back-to-back rejections that I applied for. Then I got my first few clients that helped me move up to the progress phase, until I reach the sustainability phase, which is where I am right now after years of freelancing. This phase is where you ask yourself, how can I maintain this income or even exceed it? How can I maintain this new and improved quality of life so that I don't have to go back to situations where I have to squeeze myself in, knowing that people around me do not trust me or do not believe in me? That is a separate discussion, because we still have a lot to talk about. One belief that continues to guide me in running my freelancing business is this: what got you here won't get you there. In my experience, you'd have to treat freelancing as a business and not as an employment type of work. This way, you'll slowly unlearn the employee mindset, especially if you've been employed in corporate for like a decade or more than a decade, for example. And unlearning years or decades of habits, of patterns of thinking is extremely difficult. If you reach this part of the video, you know the struggles that I've already experienced, but it's possible to change your thinking, to change the quality of your life and improve for the better. One of my favorite life quotes is from Andre de Shields, who said, "The top of one mountain is the bottom of the next. So keep going." My dream of working from home or literally anywhere and securing my family's future has already come true. So as I climb towards my next dream, I humbly invite you to join me. The next mountain I'm climbing is to help aspiring freelancers like you, yes you, to succeed in freelancing and know that it is possible for you too. This is why I created this Sustainable Freelancing. It was always a dream for me to have an open space, a safe community for freelancers and aspiring freelancers, where we have a community that is warm and supportive, where you feel that you have people you can run to whom you know can relate to what you're experiencing because they might be experiencing it too, where we're not afraid to do the inner work, to challenge our current beliefs, and to be aware of the stories we keep telling ourselves that are detrimental and unhelpful, and those that completely stops us from moving forward, where we have a deeper foundation and understanding of why we started freelancing in the first place. So you'll know you'll do whatever it takes not to go back. Come learn with me and start to live life at your own pace. The next video will be about what you need to do first if you want to have a sustainable freelancing business. So better hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet and add me to your favorites so you'll be the first to know once it's out. That's it for me today, and I hope my story gave you the push you need and hope to fuel your drive and your dreams. I sincerely hope that my story will help you to keep going. Comment below which part you love the most or which inspired you to start. Please also check the description box below for more information. You can even submit topics or questions that you want us to talk about. Plus, get your free guide below. See you on the next one. Explore and learn more about the freelancing world by downloading my free guide called the Freelance Starter Kit. It's available in the description box below. Make sure that your email address is active and please check both your inbox and spam folders after you're done signing up. You'll also see a link where you can submit your questions about freelancing so I can talk more about those in my upcoming videos. Thank you and see ya!